But you know the score by now. International break. You send in the topics and the questions, and we've got one from Jay Harris, who says, should we maybe use Noble as interim manager, get stable, then go again in the summer? Gonzo, your thoughts?
Well, it wouldn't be my first choice. First of all, I think it's probably time to go and get a progressive manager and sort of look to the future rather than sort of firefight. But so that's my first choice. But I'm in little doubt that Noble could get more out of the team right now than the current manager. And it's the eye test. It's things like that patchwork quilt graphic that Geo put on his video the other day of peach and navy blue squares all over the place. It's a combination of us having access to Y Scout over on our Patreon as well, and being looking in quite deep, dark detail at what West Ham are doing wrong. I think there are some basic fundamentals which we're clearly really struggling at, and I think that there are certainly suggestions, and I don't mean just because Sam Allardyce said so, but certainly suggestions that Lopetegui is struggling to communicate with the players. So I think even if you just look at it from a communication point of view, from a motivational point of view, and a tactical point of view, and they're three pretty big things in football management. Tactics, communication, motivation, but that's it really, isn't it? Motivation's man management. It's hard to make a case that Noble wouldn't do a better job in the short term. I think what it would, if we decided that maybe Lopetegui couldn't do the job, and as you will know, I think we're very, very close to that. If it turned out actually we couldn't get our main guy until January or something like that, for whatever reason, I know managers don't work on transfer windows and stuff like that. And obviously Geo has made the point on numerous occasions that Sullivan does seem to like to have a manager lined up, and he's absolutely right. I wouldn't be fearful that, let's say, from the 26th of November, I say that because it's the day after the Newcastle game, but the 26th of November until January 1st, I would not be afraid of Mark Noble steering us through that period. I still want to go and get a manager. People have pointed out he doesn't have his badges, but there are workarounds. Will still had that when he was at wherever he was at, wasn't Stad. Was it Stade Rennais? Wherever it was. Yeah. Yes. You can get workarounds for it. You have to have a senior person in and around there. You kind of whatever cardboard cut out of Trevor Brooking in the dugout or something like that, and Noble can go and do his stuff. I think he could do the job. I think you'd probably find he would bring someone like Kevin Nolan back in if he's out of work. You'd probably bring him in for a couple of months. So I think he could do the job. However, I do think there are other roles for Mark Noble at West Ham. And there's one of the reasons that I am feeling quite, even though everything seems really bad at the moment, I mean, certainly the judgment that comes from on high at West Ham at sort of boardroom level, even director of football level, I'm not convinced with any of it at the moment. The one sort of shining light I'm looking at the moment, one person I think can sort of almost rescue West Ham is Mark Noble.
No. It's a no for me. I think if this was like 5 games to go of the season, we're in a relegation battle, then my answer would be yes, because it's a Hail Mary, isn't it? It's like, right, look, we're going down. Either we stick with what we've got and we go down, or we just try something. And no one's really going to touch you with a barge pole at that point. Everyone's going, 8 games to try and keep you. No, thank you. Noble, I think, would be the one person I would say, yeah, I'm going to do this, because he will remember Trevor Brooking almost keeping us up and coming in and doing his thing. So Mark Noble will be able to have that in his mind. And he's got nothing to lose. At that point, he would have nothing to lose, which is either keep us up, I'm a hero, we employ a new manager, we go down, it was his fault, not mine.
Yeah,
I remain a hero. We're a million miles away from that point as far as I'm concerned. Are we in a good position right now? No, but I don't think we're in the point where it's a case of throw the kitchen sink at it. I think we could have a really calm and measured approach to the managerial appointment. I don't think that includes Noble. And I appreciate what you're saying, which is he'll do between now and the new guy coming in, whether that's in December, January. I get what you're saying. It's not for the rest of the season. But there's no evidence that he would do well as a manager, I think he would command a bit of respect from some of the players in the changing room. I think the likes of Bowen and stuff would be like, right, this guy's Mr. West Ham. He says jump, we say how high. And you'd imagine he does have a really good insight in terms of tactically into what to do, because being captain all these years, he will have definitely been involved in tactics and team selection and stuff like that. And a lot of the managers have commented on it. David Moyes commented on it. Slaven Bilic spoke about it, about how Slaven Bilic used to say when they'd go by a player in England, they used to ask Martin Noble about the character of the player. And if he didn't know, he'd go find out for them. So Martin Noble would go away and come back and say, I've heard this XYZ about that player. So Martin Noble was involved in the transfer process. And that was 9 years ago. Slaven Bilic is here. So he's definitely got some experience. But in terms of picking the team and that, I don't know. I feel like that's a desperation status, and I'm not quite at that point yet. I'm desperate for change, but I don't feel like the club have reached rock bottom. And I just worried that it would maybe tarnish his reputation a little bit at the moment. I think he's doing okay work in his role as sporting director, and the academy players that we want to keep are all signing new contracts. So he's doing something right behind the scenes, convincing these players to stay with the club, even though there's no evidence that there's a pathway to the first. There isn't any. We don't have a player in the first team today that was from the academy. Casey is there, but he's not. Doesn't need to be registered. He's so young. And he's not made an appearance for us, so it's hard to point to that one. There's no Ben Johnson. There's no Declan Rice. Even the third choice goalkeeper is Wes Fodringham. It used to be an academy goalkeeper. It's not even that anymore. But he's still managing to convince our top talent like Lewis Orford and George Earthy and Callum Marshall, put pen to paper, sign up for the next few years, and we're going to develop you. So he's doing something right. He's obviously got a bit of a plan. Just would he manage as a caretaker manager at West Ham? There's no evidence to suggest it would work. Likewise, there's no evidence to suggest it wouldn't. But yeah, I don't get. It's just not for me, Gonzo. Not for me.
No. Well, I mean, the other thing I do think is with this whole Stighton Lopetegui business and everything else, I do also think he was doing his homework before. He was going over to Monaco and spending time with Mitchell over there. So he was already in the process of learning the director of football role. There's no way that inquisitive nature would have stopped when Stighton came along. You've seen them together. You've seen him with Lopetegui I don't mean too many times. I don't want to say that, but loads of times. It's very easy to laugh at Lopetegui now, particularly at what's happened, and think he has nothing to offer. But I wouldn't believe that for a second. I think this is a guy who's probably got quite a lot of wisdom. Can he impart it, and can he get West Ham playing at the moment? No. Would he have things to teach someone like Mark Noble, who's often pictured next to him on the training ground? Yeah, of course. Done it. It's managed Real Madrid. He's managed Porto. He's managed in the Premier League. He's managed a Spanish national team. There will be things that Mark Noble doesn't know that he can learn from him. And that really is the key, isn't it? With anybody that's going to go and thrive, can you listen and can you learn? And everything I've ever noticed about Mark Noble would indicate that he's done that. I remember him doing it under Kevin Nolan. I remember this. He was not captain material. He was not. The Mark Noble that you saw towards the end of his career, the Mark Noble that you saw carrying the player off the pitch and all that sort of stuff, that wasn't there. I'm not saying he wasn't a cheeky chappy and I'm not saying he was shy, but he was very much learnt his trade under Nolan. Absolutely he did. And he really learned. He listened and he learned. He listened, he's learning. And he's a bit of a talker, Noble. Not everyone that's a talker has the capacity to listen as well. He definitely does. And so I do think in terms of somebody, he's somebody who's going to know the history of West Ham, but also understand what the trends are happening in the game. And if anyone is equipped to help us, because I think at some point in the next 2 years, particularly in the background at West Ham, we're going to need some help. I certainly think he's the one person, as I say, I look at and I think, okay, I can sort of pin my hopes on you. Whilst you're not in charge of everything, it's hard to say you're in safe hands because he's not in control yet. But if we need that in emergency break glass, it might not even be as manager or head coach. It might be something else. Suspect it will be. I think we've got him there. So I think Mark Noble has got a massive role to play. at West Ham. I did wonder if it's just a token appointment at the start. By the time he's finished, I wouldn't be surprised me if he has done a stint as caretaker manager. He'll have run the academy. He'll have been sporting director, and it would not surprise me if he is basically a non-executive director of football as well, non-executive board member as well. I think there's big things coming from.
Yeah, there's a lot of ex-players in those roles now. It's not always the ones you suspect either. You know, Jason Wilcox has got a really prominent role at Manchester City. David Unsworth, David Weir. There's a lot of these ex-players go on and become really important at big clubs too, using their experience to turn it into a non-playing role. And I think it's usually the ones that want to do it as well, because David Moyes, you speak about no bones. Like, oh no, he won't go into coaching. He wants like a boardroom level kind of role at West Ham. So I think he was earmarked for this role for quite some time before he hung up his boots. Otherwise, he would have done his coaching badges. There's a reason he didn't, because he knew that's not what he wanted to do. He's always spoke about his desire to mentor players and stuff, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now, you're going to hear from somebody else in just a second. Before we do, just want to point in the direction of our online store. It's coming up to Christmas. We've got Christmas jumpers in stock. There's not loads left, less than 40 now. We've got 2 different designs, so go have a little look. We've also got some new mugs. We've got our Andy Irving mug on there. We've got our Unt mug. Takes a lot of imagination, that one. It says UNT on the mug next to the handle. Work it out. But we've also got signed Jimmy Walker books as well. Jimmy Walker's book comes out at the end of November. He's donating all the profit to charity as well. So he's not making a penny from this book, Jimmy Walker. And we're getting our books that we're selling, we're getting them signed by Jimmy himself. So if you go to hammerchatstore.com, you can have a look, see what we've got, and see if there's anything you fancy, and get yourself a pre-order Jimmy Walker's book. We've got some nice hats out as well. By the time you're watching this, they are out, they've arrived, and me and Gonzo will be wearing them very shortly in video, so go check it out. Anyway, so that's enough for me and Gonzo. One of our subscribers called Benjamin sent us this video discussing Mark Noble, so we're going to leave you in his capable hands. But if you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it, subscribe to Hammers Chat. Myself and Gonzo, we'll catch you in a bit.
Evening, guys. First off, congratulations, Geo and Mrs. Geo. I hope it was a good service. It couldn't have been any worse than the West Ham game, so I'm sure you've time well spent. Anyway, congratulations to you both, and best of luck with the upcoming baby. West Ham. I mean, a lot's being made of where we're going wrong this season. Is it Lopetegui, Tim Stighton, David Sullivan? Usual shit show at West Ham. It's just imploding. It's just such a fucking embarrassment. Honestly, give me Egert Magnuson any day. But all joking aside, I don't think the problem does come down to Tim Stighton buying the wrong players, or David Sullivan being a mouthy little midget, or even down to Lopetegui. I think the club is suffering. Last season, David Moyes said, when they said, what happened? He said Declan Rice, as we were missing Declan Rice. And do you know what? On the face of things, we all laughed and took the piss out of him and everything. Fair enough, it's a bit of a fucking silly thing to say, really. £100 million worth of players gone out of your team. You're going to notice it. But I think he's right. On a deeper level, we don't have any identity in that squad. I think that when we got rid of Mark, when Mark Noble retired, it was a dark day for the club. He was Mr. West Ham. He was the one. And if you came in from another country and you didn't know what West Ham was about, Mark Noble would teach you with his studs up, 2 foot flying off the ground in training. The bloke bleeds claret and blue, and he made sure that everyone who come into the club understood what it meant to pull on that shirt. He transferred a lot of that to Rice, and a lot of his leadership qualities. I don't think Rice would have developed the way he did as a leader anywhere else, because Mark Noble really kind of drilled that into him. And, Mark Noble, what a fantastic servant to the club he is. But now I just look at it and I think, do you know what? Bowen means well. He's not a natural leader, though. Kilman, he's not one of us. He's a great player, fantastic player, I think, but he's not one of us. We don't have any academy graduate in our team, in our starting 11. I know that people can do a job, like we've got Kudus and stuff, we've got Paqueta. Do you really think Paqueta was playing football in Brazil growing up? Not thinking of Real Madrid, but he was sitting there in front of his little TV watching Big Sam Allardyce fuck the ball up the pitch to the fucking corner flag and having every fucker run onto it and thinking, do you know what? That's where my future lies, that club there. That tactical brilliant. It's amazing. I've got West Ham. That's where I want to play. Not Real Madrid, not Barcelona. I want to play for West Ham. Same as Kudus. Do you reckon Kudus was like watching going, oh no, when I'm older, West Ham fancy a bit of that? No. Jared Bowen, fair enough. He's come from Hereford. He's come up the right way, and he's got Danny Dyer in his ear, both of them, telling him what to do. And maybe Danny Dyer needs to be telling him, you ain't getting none unless you stick the ball in the back of the net, and then we'll see if it motivates him to score a few more goals. But either way, I just feel like we've lost our soul. We don't play at Upton Park. You go over to the Olympic Stadium, no one knows the songs. We've not got an academy graduate in the team. The manager's never played for West Ham, although, I know that's not 100% what you need. And we've got this power-hungry midget in the middle just playing Monopoly with our club. I just honestly, I was Moyes out, not because he was shit, but because it was just time for him to go. It was going to get bad if he stayed. It's the same as Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. Obviously not as successful, but it's relative. David Moyes was fantastic, but I was ready for him to go. This season, I would take him back right now. I'd take him back, but I just can't do it. I mean, anyway, I'm interested to know what people think, but I honestly think we don't have anyone with identity in our team, and it's no wonder that we lack identity at the moment. If you're Lopetegui and you're trying to instill your way of playing and your morals and your ethics onto a squad, you go to your captain. If you went to Mark Noble and said, listen, Mark, I need these lot to get going, Mark Noble will fucking start the engine. You hotwire the car if he had to. But you go to Bowen, I don't think Bowen's got it in him to drag people, pull people aside and say, listen, it's not good enough. Zuma last season, weak choice as captain. It's disappointing, but I think we're just lacking that identity. I'm praying next season we get a couple of youth players come through, someone that wants to bleed for it. If we had a Tommy Soucek from the academy, with a bit of in-between game, not just either end of the pitch. If we had a Tommy Soucek to come in fact, I would make Tommy our captain, because he's not going to let you get away with it. I know he seems soft and everything, but I don't think he lets you get away with it. But yeah, I'm interested to know all this talk about youth team, youth players. David Sullivan seems to not believe that you're able to play in the Premier League unless you're over 21. I think Lopetegui will come good. I don't necessarily want him to stay to find out, but I really think it's a cultural thing at the club. I think we need some youth players to come through, someone who cares about the weight of that shirt. A £60 million player is only worth £60 million because they play to put themselves in the shop window. They don't give a shit about us. They will be gone next season. More luck to them. We're a stepping stone. But we have a youth team. The Academy of Football is still there. And I do think we're going to come good. But yeah, just my opinion. I think we just lack identity because we don't have identity. So anyway, come on you Irons. Can't get any worse.